episode 22 with Ian Warner on the 9 Point Start with a Dream podcast.
Welcome to 9 Point Started with a Dream podcast. Our goal is to showcase the stories of athletes and the community that supports them by being authentic about their journey. Here's your host, Jacolby Gilliam.
Hey, welcome back to the 9 Point Start with a Dream podcast. Today's guest is Ian Warner, Olympian and current founder and CEO of Kho. We go through Ian's journey about how he kind of endured through the setbacks, the ups and downs to kind of achieve his goals out of journey. Hope you enjoy, and here we go. When you were younger as an athlete, what was one of your bigger dreams or goals you wanted to achieve?
So when I was young, the big dream for me was making the NFL. I wanted to do that really bad because, I spent a lot of time playing, Madden and different like sports video games like that. And like, I seen the type of money these guys were making. And it was like 100%, honestly, it was 100% financially driven for that dream, to be honest, because I liked football, but I didn't love it because I really didn't like getting hit. Like, and as I got older, like the hits were just getting harder and harder. So I couldn't even imagine what an NFL hit feels like. Like, never mind like a college hit, which, I never played at the college level either. But that's what it was for me when I was little, man. It was all about trying to make it to the NFL.
What's cool about the answer, though? You're the person that said money.
Really?
Yeah. Most people kind of been avoiding this thing. It's about money. But you're the first one that's been like, yeah, I want to make money.
100%. It was all about the money. I don't really want to get hit like that. Like, and I'm not saying that there aren't guys in the NFL that do love it. There's obviously people who love football. But like, I liked it. I was good at it. But yeah, I just saw how much money they made and was like, hey, it'd be really good to make that. I wasn't good. I didn't have the height for basketball. I knew that wasn't happening. My parents aren't tall. Baseball, I was kind of scared of the ball, to be honest. And I never played tennis or any of those other sports. I didn't have any other shot at anything else. So it was like, football was the one. Like, I can make the money doing, man. It was 100% about the money.
Respect that. So when it comes from like, cause you grew up in Canada, so how was it like seeing American football? Was it something that was just every TV? What was that like, kind of seeing the culture and seeing the sport?
So yeah, because I was from Toronto, the closest team is Buffalo. Buffalo's right around the corner. So that was who we saw on TV. Like, every single Buffalo game was always on TV. And there were even some preseason games. Like, one year, the Packers, and I can't remember who the other team they were playing, but they came and did a preseason game in Toronto. The place was packed, man. So there's a lot of football fans in Toronto and in Canada. And obviously, there's a Canadian football league, so there is a whole league up there which has tons of American players when they don't make it in the NFL. So you're around it and you see it. And the one thing Canada doesn't have, though, is just, and you're from Texas, so you know this more than anybody, but like football is life. Like, it's everything. Like, in Canada, sports aren't life like that. It's kind of just like, if you're good at sports, like, that's cool. But like, it's always about academics. It's always about grades matter more than sports do. But in the States, I find there's a much healthier balance between, like, you can still get good grades and be decent in your academics, and be a good athlete too. And there's nothing wrong with doing both and excelling.
Definitely, that's true. Football is life in Texas, man.
It's life, dude. It's everything, bro. Like, I'll never forget when we dropped Justin off at TCU. I saw a magazine. It was like a high school, like, magazine for high school football. Like, I was like, what? They have a whole magazine for high school football. Like, I'd never seen anything like that in my life, just in Texas. Like, so if that doesn't tell you what's up, like, I don't know what will.
Different beast for sure. So growing up, and you had the dream of you wanted to go to NFL. So what did that look like for you? Like how did you kind of manifest that to say, I'm gonna try to make this happen?
So the way I really just tried to do it was just like, I figured, I had to get a scholarship. But that was when I actually realized it was an unrealistic dream. Like, and the main reason was because this football's a very what's the word I'm looking for? It, like, whether you're good at it or not, it's really up to the perception of the holder. It's up to the coach, right? Whereas like with track, it's very concrete. Like, you have to run the time or you didn't run the time. So when it was time to start getting recruited, I saw Justin go through the recruiting process, and like, everyone just kept telling him, hey, like, you're really fast, you're good, and this and that, but like, we just don't think you're tough enough. And like, really, there's just a huge bias towards recruiting American players, and like, no matter how good he was, it was like, you can always find an American player who's better in their eyes. So I started to realize as I got older, like, okay, like, is this realistic? Like, and also another thing a lot of people forget, this is before the days of like YouTube and like, well, realistically, YouTube wasn't around. It was just starting to get big, but like coaches weren't recruiting kids off YouTube, you know, there was no, what are all these things called now, man? There's so many of them.
NCSA, there's
Yeah.
no be
NCSA,
recruited.
be recruited, or even the company's based in Omaha. It's Huddle.
Huddle
Yeah,
was,
like things like that kids use now to get their video out there. Like there wasn't all that stuff. You had to create a VHS tape. You had to put it on VHS and send it to the coaches. And like it was just way harder to do it. So to put all that effort in, like I saw Justin do it. He sent tapes out all around the country, and he kind of got the same responses. So I just kind of realized, like, you know what, my chances of being able to get to the next level for football are just a lot less likely. And I also wasn't a big dude either. I didn't have the size. Like I'm not very tall. I coming out of high school, I only weighed like 150 pounds, so I didn't have the weight either. So I was just I think there's a time in life where you do have to kind of be realistic. Like I'm all about having the big dream and stuff like that, but sometimes you have to actually come down to like where you really are and match up where you are to where you need to be. And I realized that there's that gap. And then that's when I shifted the dream over and I started to focus on track.
So when it comes to having unrealistic dreams, how did you kind of hit that reality in the sense of I need to scale this down a little bit or kind of scale another direction? Like how do you take that, especially being like, a young athlete, we always think we want to, our dream is this, we're going to go do it. That's our mindset. But how do you kind of get mature enough to say, this is something different?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just like looking at what it required to be successful. So I think like even in terms of like starting a business or, if you want to be an actor or any of these things, like you can look at look at all the successful people out there in that area and look at some of the commonalities of things that they have and you have to match it up and say, hey, am I doing these things? Like there's a lot of things in business where I look at what other people are doing and like some of the successful traits they have. And I'm like, okay, I match up with some of these things. Like I think I'm on the right track. But with football, I just wasn't. Like I didn't have it. It's not that it's not possible for small guys to get recruited, but it's just very rare. Like there's a dime a dozen. So I knew like if I was going to do it, I had to gain a lot of weight. And I actually just enjoyed track and field more. So I was like, is it worth risking what I have with track in order to try and gain this weight? I'm not American, and is this thing I'm trying to achieve right now? Does it actually make sense? When I started to like write down a lot of what it looked like and what I needed to do in order to make it work, I just felt like I was too far away from it. Now, could I have buckled down and put my mind to it and done it? I probably could have, but when it really comes down to it, I just didn't really want to. And for what I had and my passion I had for track, like I was good just going for a track scholarship and achieving those dreams I had with track and field.
So once you kind of realized that you wanted to focus on track and field, why track?
So the thing is with track that I love is that there are elements of it that are a team sport, but it's an individual sport. So I'm very disciplined in what I do day to day. So I like the fact that with track, I can go out there. I don't have to worry about what this guy's doing, what that guy's doing. Like if I handle my business, I will get the results, and I can be a leader just by my actions, by just doing the little things, doing the things right every single day, and people will begin to follow me in that sense. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But also with track, I love the fact that it was very concrete in terms of like you rather run the times you haven't. Like in one time with football, I tried out for this all-star team and I ended up making the team, but it was just so subjective how everything was done. Like it was based off of who the coach liked and who sucked up to the coach, who did this, who did that. And like it wasn't based off of like who actually was the best person. Whereas with track, it's really hard to deny the person who's just the fastest. Like if you go on the time, you're usually going to get the rewards.
What point did you realize that you're a good attractor? Like what point did you like point where you're like, I'm moving, I'm blazing?
So I knew from when I was from probably like first or second grade that like I was faster than the average kid. Like just being in class, like just running against kids playing games and tag at recess and stuff. I knew I was fast. But when I really started to realize like, whoa, like I think I can actually like do this, was when I got to high school, my junior year of high school, I represented Canada. So my first international competition at the 2007 World Youth Games, and that was in Czech Republic. It was in Austria, Czech Republic. So going over there and doing that, I came in ranked 20 something in the world in the 100, and I ended up making the finals. I came seventh, so I was seventh fastest under 18 kid in the world, which was dope. And that was when I realized, like, okay, like I can actually do something here. I beat up on two American kids who, like, one went to Houston, one went to Middle Tennessee. So that gave me like a signal, like, okay, like I think there's something here.
So growing up with Justin, who was the fastest growing up?
Well, that's what's so funny with Justin. Like, he was always not just like faster than me, but like he came out of high school running 10:26, like, which that's like road, like that's road. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're in the States. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada. Where it doesn't matter. Like, that's fast. So he always kind of was setting that bar. So like that's where, like, it was nice because it kind of set a hunger in me because I'm always chasing after him. Like, and that's where I really developed my work ethic. Like, I owe a lot of that to him, just because he had all these things, like, and he was just doing it. He was showing me the way, but like I never felt like I was as talented as him. So I just had to like grind to try and keep up with what he was doing, you know?
So basically he was kind of like your model of what the race looked like. So when you kind of saw that model and kind of saw what he was doing, did it kind of make all the other noise around you not even matter?
No, for sure. And he really has showed me the importance of having a mentor in whatever you're doing. And I know, you're big on mentors and stuff as well. And it's just simply because, like, he was my mentor in my house because he just showed me the entire blueprint of what it took to get a scholarship. Like, he went from running track as a young kid, dominated through high school, ran that fast time in high school, got a scholarship to TCU, went to TCU, was an All-American at TCU. So I just saw it all these years. And then it was like, when it was my turn, I knew what I was getting into. So like when you get to college, for example, a lot of people get to college sports and they don't really understand what they're getting into. They don't understand how serious it is. I knew just because I was around him. Like, I went down to TCU, I saw like what they train like and like what the meets are like and how fast these guys are. And the fact that, like, Justin came out of high school running 10:26 and he was still getting smacked at some races, like I realized coming into school, like, this is serious business. So like that gave me a big edge because I always knew what I was getting into, and but like the model was just laid out for me. So that's why I always recommend to people, whatever it is you want to accomplish, whether it is in life after sports, whether you want to just climb up to be the CEO of Coca-Cola or whatever, like, get a mentor and follow the blueprint, because chances are, if there's something that you want to do, there's someone else who's done something similar to it who can give you advice along the way.
So when it comes to having a mentor, like, they kind of guide us in, like, on the process, right? Was there ever any fear in your mind, like, what if I can't live up to that name, or I can't live up to what he's done?
Yeah, I think early on that's definitely there. But then eventually you get to the point where you realize, like, you can't live up to any name but your own name. Like, the point of a mentor isn't to necessarily just live their life and replace them or to try and be them, but it's to avoid some of the costly mistakes. Like, one in college is, like, getting injured a lot. Like, if you get injured a lot in college, you can't, you're not going to be able to do a lot, or you get injured at any point, really. Like, you're not going to be able to compete and reach your goals because you're on the sideline watching instead of playing. So he helps me show me, like, okay, here's some little things you can do to make sure you're staying healthy. But at the end of the day, I'm still a different person. I'm going to have my own path. And I'm not going to be able to listen to every single thing that mentor says, because sometimes just my path, my situation, the things I got to do are going to be a little bit different. But having that person you can go to and get feedback from is still going to cut down greatly on that learning curve.
So for anyone listening that's like, they're a younger athlete, they kind of see someone that they want to kind of emulate, that's kind of really, they kind of reach out and touch themselves, what will be on right, so kind of maybe on how to find a mentor, or how to find that person they can kind of reach out to in a sense of learning from?
There's two things I would say. The first is just observation. Like, observation is a great form of, being mentored. If there's someone that you see like, and they are just uber talented, like you went to high school with LeBron James or whatever, and you just tell that there's something just great about this person. Just watch everything they do. Watch how they shoot. Watch how they dribble. Watch how they carry themselves. Watch how they do everything that they do. And then if you want to take it to another level, it's worth maybe going and approaching them and saying, hey, like, would you teach me, how you do some of these things? Like, and that's, you're shooting your shot when you do that, because they could say no and you could get rejected. But there's no one that can stop you from just observation. The other way is, like, sometimes you want to get mentored by someone who you know that you can never get in touch with them. Or you can't get in touch with them easily. I shouldn't say never, but say you want to be mentored by Kobe Bryant. Read books that were written on him. Like, watch YouTube documentaries on him. Learn everything you can about that person, and just take in as much information as you can. But then I think there's another form of mentorship too, and I think it's in terms of going to someone who is a little bit older than you. So if you're in high school, for example, find a senior and find that person who's not necessarily the most talented, but the person who does everything right. And they're usually a captain on the team. And the reason they're named a captain, captains are usually named captains not because they're talented. Good coaches, anyway, name captains who are leaders. They know the way it needs to be done. They know what it takes to be successful. They know how it takes to lead people and teach people and help them step up to the next level. Find that person and say, like, look, tell them what your goals are, and just say, hey, I want to be really good. Like, would you be willing to help me out? And if that person is a good captain, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, if you're willing and committed to listening and to showing up and doing what you're told to do.
For sure. It's like you in the dribble, man. I couldn't dribble to save my life at OU.
Yeah, man, that's actually a good example. It's just, because you could have done 2 things, like, and this is what we do in life sometimes. Sometimes someone's trying to tell us something and we just reject it, and we just want to get mad because we don't want to get told what to do, And like, I've been there before, but sometimes you have to just realize, like, someone is ahead of you, or they're successful, they make more money than you, and they're telling you to do something. Doesn't mean they're right 100% of the time, but chances are they're right at least 80% of the time, because they're ahead of you. Like, they've made those mistakes. So it takes humility to be able to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this person has something to teach me. Let me just listen to what they're saying and give it a try and see if it works.
For sure. So you kind of had your mentor that was pretty much right there next to you, walking the whole journey process. What was what was it like? Was it as smooth sailing as you thought it would be, since you kind of had a blueprint?
No, man, it was, and that's the thing. That's where you have to just know it's going to be your own journey, because life's going to punch you in the face, and it's going to punch you in the face in ways you don't expect. And it's not going to punch you in the face in the same way your mentors got punched in the face, or anybody else who you're following or trying to emulate. So for me, those punches really came in the form of injuries. Like, I just had so many injuries throughout my career. It started out when I was, playing football. I was, 13, right before high school. I had a spiral fracture in my tibia that cracked. So broke my tibia running, and it twisted. Then it cracked down through my growth plate, my ankle. So I had to have surgery to put all that back together. And then, so I missed that football season. It was a preseason game, so I missed the whole season. Came back, and I was ready for the next season of football. I was like high school. I was ready to get it in. And the doctor was like, oh, no, we got to have another surgery now to take out the plate. So I missed another season of football. And that's actually where I started to really lean towards track, because I missed those 2 seasons. I didn't miss any track seasons those years, because the surgeries just happened to be during football season. So I was back for track for both years. So I didn't miss any track years. But in the high school track, I had a groin pull, and then I ended up having this really bad back injury that kind of bled into college. So I was dealing with that back injury my first couple years of college. Finally dealt with that back injury. Then I pulled my hamstring at Big 12s, and it was just like thing after thing after thing after thing. And like, I wanted to transfer from Iowa State. I didn't get along with my coach, and the problems just kept coming. They kept coming. But the one thing I've noticed about problems in life is that if you just can stick with it, like, the problems usually don't last longer than you're capable of lasting. But what happens, and like, I know you've been here as well, Jacolby, and I've made this mistake in so many areas of my life, is that you get into a problem and then you run to another area, because you're like, well, if I quit, I'll go here where there aren't problems, and then problems will show up there. Then you quit that. Then you're like, oh, well, I'll go here. Problems show up there. And the reality of it is, problems are everywhere in life. problems. You're gonna have problems with your family. You're gonna have problems with your finances at some point. You're gonna have problems with your sports, with your injuries, your health, and they show up everywhere. And what really matters more than anything is your ability to be persistent, to endure, but to just realize that like you have to just laugh at your problems sometimes. Like that is that endurance that actually produces the character that you need to be the person that you're destined to be. So when those obstacles show up, just smile at them and realize that obstacle is what is helping you to be better. But that obstacle is also what makes that thing that you want valuable. If it was easy to make the NFL, everybody with their grandma would be playing NFL football right now. If it was easy to start a successful business, everybody would be a billionaire. Everybody would be have a yacht and live in a mansion. You know what I mean? The thing that makes that stuff valuable is that it's really hard to do it, and because it's so hard to do it, people quit. So if you can be the person who doesn't quit, you will get the rewards.
Fire. So if we go back to these injuries, right? Because injuries suck. Like, so when it comes to having your dreams, of reaching this next level, and then you get hurt, not once but twice. What helped you have that endurance to know that I'm going to bounce back from this? Because it's not easy for sure.
No, it's not. And like the thing about obstacles and setbacks in life is that's when doubt creeps in like hardcore. You start questioning everything. Man, I remember at Iowa State, I was like, man, I think of that Cat Williams where he's talking about the tigers in the zoo. And he's like, am I really a tiger? Like that's what I felt like. I was like, man, am I a real like? Am I supposed to be here? Am I really an athlete? Like what's going? Like you start questioning everything, like things that you shouldn't even be questioning. You start questioning, right? But I think the only real good advice I can give that just applies to everything is just keep going, just keep trying to outlast the problem, because I felt like these injuries were truly things that I was like, I thought the injuries were just my destiny. Like they were just never going to go away. I dealt with the back injury for 3 years straight, and it just came on and off kind of whenever it wanted to. I was in a wheelchair at some point because I couldn't even walk. And I was just like, yeah, like this is just my destiny. I'm never going to get to run. They're going to take my scholarship. Life sucks. But I think the one thing that did help me personally was just taking it day to day, slowing everything down. It's so easy to just worry about, oh man, I want to run this time. I want to be this. I want to be All-American. I want all these things. It's like, stop worrying about that stuff. Just take it day to day. What do you have to do today to make sure that your injury is getting better so that you can do more tomorrow? And then the same thing the next day. And if you keep getting wins day to day, next thing you know, you'll win the week. Next thing you know, you'll win the month. And before you know it, you're back. And it's like, okay, I'm back now. Now let's just keep getting wins. Let's just keep staying healthy. Let's keep staying focused on what I need to do. I think where the doubt and all the problems come in is where you're thinking about the future. You're thinking too much about what am I going to do tomorrow? Like, what's going to happen to me? How am I going to get this? And your brain just starts spinning out of control. But if you just come back to the moment, you focus on the things you can do today, because the reality is we can only do so much today. We can only do so much with the resources that we have, and you got to just focus on that and make the best of it.
Kind of going off of that then, because everything you're saying is the truth. But say you're junior in high school right now, you got these big dreams, and you get hurt, and everything you're saying, it makes sense, but you're feeling so defeated, you're feeling so depressed because you're like, yeah, this wasn't part of the plan. What would be your tips or just your advice on kind of how to know that this is just only one little setback for a comeback?
Yeah. Well, I'll add this in there. If your mind is stressed, that's not going to help injury heal faster. That's only going to make it take longer. So by you beating yourself up about the situation and saying, oh man, you know what, time's running out. And I understand that, like, time legitimately is running out for you when you're a junior and you haven't signed yet and you're injured. Like you don't have that much time. But the situation you're in is the situation you're in. You can't change what happened yesterday. All you can do is make the best going forward. So just know that, like, if you're staying up late because you're stressed about this injury, that's not helping it heal better. Focus on the things that you can do day to day that are just going to increase that injury and make the healing go better. And the one thing is having a healthy mind, like visualizing and seeing yourself being healthy again and going back to getting on the field and doing what you love and keeping yourself in good spirits. those things will help your body in your mind and everything to heal, so that you can get back on the field and feel good again. Because another aspect of injuries, right, is there's the actual physical aspect, but as you know, there's also the mental aspect, where a physical therapist or whatever could be telling you, hey, your body's good, but you're like, I don't feel good. And it's like literally in your mind, like your brain hasn't caught up with the fact that your body's good again, and you're not allowing it to, because you're still doubting and scared and fearful that, oh man, what if I make this cut and like I blow my knee again? You're still doubting those things. So it's trusting in like your team and what you're being told, but also knowing that like if you stay positive, it's going to keep you in good spirits, and it's going to make everything go a little bit better. Because at the end of the day, being negative about it isn't going to help anything. It's just going to make everything worse.
Oh, on the mindset. Love it. So once you bounced back from all these injuries, and you kind of went from having this NFL dream to, track and field dream and becoming an Olympian, what was that sense of accomplishment? Like, was it like almost, I made it, the journey's over with, or?
So that's where I've learned that like success isn't a destination at all. And it's so cliche, like success is a journey, it's not a destination. But like the reason why is because, okay, like my goal, it wasn't even to make the Olympics, it was to get a scholarship. But then once I got a scholarship, it's like, well, to keep a scholarship, like you can't just get a scholarship and then run slow and then expect to keep it, right? So I had to run fast and I had to put in more. And then, I ended up making the Olympic team. And then it's like you set more goals and bigger goals. And it's not to say that you always want more, but it's like just to maintain what you even have. Like I've heard people talk about this with money a lot too. It's like you can't just make $1 million and be like, all right, I got $1 million, I'm gonna put my feet up and I'm good. Because before you know it, that $1 million is gonna be gone. Like you have to, if you want to keep reaching more goals, you have to keep putting in more effort. So for me, it was really like I got to one step and it was like, okay, I got here now and this is cool. But if I want to keep this, I'm gonna have to keep succeeding. And if I get to the next level, if I want to keep that, I have to keep succeeding. And as soon as you stop succeeding, it goes away quick. And that's like, even when I had met you and I was training in Oklahoma, I wasn't running very well. And that's when it all started to kind of fall down for me with track, because like I made the Olympic team. So the expectations were way higher, and you can't maintain those expectations, funding and all those things, they start disappearing on you really quick, man. So the worst thing you can do is just rest on your laurels and just be like, hey, I'm good. I made it, man. You got to keep grinding.
So kind of the point then when you came to OU, you kind of just came off your first Olympics, right? Or like, what year was that when your first Olympics?
Yeah, my first Olympic was 2012, and then I had one more year of school left, my senior year, and then I came down to OU.
So with that, the dream can only go so far when it comes to athletics, right? We can only do so much in our sport. So at what point did you start to transition to think that what's next, or what's that next phase in my journey looking like?
It was when I was at OU, and there was two reasons. So first things first, honestly, I didn't really even want to run post-collegiate track. I felt like I had to run post-collegiate track. And there's a big difference there. Like I think a lot of people, they continue doing sports after college just because it's not they don't know what else to do. It's just that that's the expectation that they feel like society's putting on them. That's what they've done for so many years. So for me, I felt like, well, I went to one Olympics, so people expect me to go to a second Olympics, but I didn't really care to. I was good with going to one. But what happened when I was down at OU is I started writing a book. I wrote a book called Endure, An Athlete's Guide to Faith, Hope, and Success. And when I was writing that, like I enjoyed waking up and writing. I didn't want to go to practice. Like I was like, I want to run. I enjoyed writing the book. And like that was when I first realized that I was starting to develop passions outside of just like my sport. Like I was becoming more passionate about helping athletes than I was about like being one myself. I felt like I had done what I wanted to do with getting a scholarship and going to the Olympics and stuff. So that was when it definitely started, like right when I had met you and I was down in Norman, Oklahoma.
So you wrote a book. About the book right here. I got it on the bookshelf right over here. But so you got the book. How did you manifest? Was it like, I'm just gonna go run, I'm gonna give it up, then I'm gonna go work? Like, what was it like in the process of your mind of how the post-collegiate life worked?
Yeah, so I made the mistake first off, and I'll say it's right off the jump. I went straight and got a job when I was done, and it was horrible. I hated it. But I was married, and like I felt like I made the mistake that I think a lot of people make in that I just took the first thing. The first person that was willing to pay me money, I was like, great, it's a job, I'll take it. And I went and I hated it. I only worked it for 3 months and I pieced out of there. But I decided to be done with track because just the passion to do it, it was just done. And I'd run my course with it. I'd accomplished what I wanted to, and I didn't really need or want anything more out of it. And I was just good. I was content with where I was. So that's when I knew it was time to be done. But what I should have done was focus more on the entrepreneurial things I'd already been doing. So where my story is a little bit different than most is I used all my time through college to test out different entrepreneurial endeavors. And the reason I did it in college was because I realized that, one, I had access to a ton of resources. Two, I had no pressure to succeed or fail. Really, it didn't matter because I was a college athlete anyway. Three, I had extra money for my scholarship that I could use to fund some of the businesses I started. So because of those years, I had already gotten my feet wet. I didn't wait until like, oh my gosh, I'm done with sports to like decide, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I think that is something that's really important. Like, use your time while you are an athlete to figure out what you want to do next. Don't wait until you have to figure out what you want to do next because sports don't want you anymore, or you don't have the talent to keep up anymore. That's too late. Like, you should always know as an athlete what the next move is, because you could have a career-ending injury today, and you need to know what the next step is. I think that's where depression and those type of things sneak in. I didn't deal with any of that because when I left, I truly was happy to leave. Like, I was ready to start making money and start using some of my other talents that I have in life. And I was really pumped about that. And just being a family man, it was a little bit easier than running track and stuff like that. Like, I was ready for that jump. So it just felt right. The mistake I made, like I said before, was just going into any job. And I worked at a company called MD Building Products. It was horrible. I worked in the caulks and sealants department. I didn't know anything about this product before I started working there. It was god awful. Like, I hated every day of it. I worked in I remember the first day, I thought it was so cool. I had an office. It was the worst thing ever. It was like a prison cell. It was awful, man.
Oh man, hope they don't hear this.
No, dude, I hope they do hear this. So, like, I quit in 3 months for a reason. Like, I hated it.
Peaced out.
Yeah, man, I was gone.
Kind of like from my journey, I kind of realized, when I was running, that eventually, like, your version of greatness only gets you to a certain point, and for me, mine was just running, being a walk-on and running, being on a run at Oklahoma. For you, it was like you kind of ran, you got college, you went to the Olympics, that was like your bonus. So when that passion kind of transferred to business, how did you kind of keep that same mentality of, I'm going to bounce back after setback to keep building what I want to build?
Yeah, that's where it's a lot harder, because with sports, with sports, you have one talent, and it's kind of like, not necessarily one talent, but most people, they have one sport. When they get older, they have one sport they're focusing on. It's like, this is the sport I'm going to do. So it's harder to just bounce around. Like, you're not, like, even Michael Jordan tried to just bounce the baseball, right? Like, it didn't work. Like, he's the greatest basketball player ever, couldn't even just switch sports. Like, so to kind of just, if you're going to stick it out, you're going to stick it with one sport. Whereas with business, the problem is that you come with this convoluted idea that you can just do anything. Like, you can make money doing anything. So you see people making money with Bitcoin, you want to jump into Bitcoin. You see people making money selling online courses, you want to sell online courses. You see people making money with this, that, and that, and this, and selling like clothing, and you just want to jump into everything. So that's where I struggled the most, was just jumping around. And I realize now, though, that it's like, you just got to find that one thing, and you just got to stick it out. And I only learned that through painful experiences of just making mistakes and like realizing, man, like, if I would have just stuck with that one thing years ago, it could have been so much bigger now. So that's my advice to anybody. If you are, looking for what you want to do next, find one thing that you are passionate about, and try and just stick with that one thing. Like, and even if you do something that seems a little bit off track, just make sure that everything you're doing is making you better for that one thing you want to do. So if you do get a job that's going to teach you something that's going to help you with the one thing that you want to do. If you're going to take a business opportunity, you're going to partner with someone or whatever, just make sure that it's related to the one thing that you really want to do. I think where we get killed is like, there's only so many Elon Musks that can just start a business in like all these different sectors and make it work. Most people start off with one thing. Like, you look at a guy like Steve Harvey, he has a lot of different things now, but he started off just being a really good comedian. That was his one thing. Steve Harvey made it by being really funny. And then that turned into really funny books and being a really funny game show host and being having his own TV shows and his own talk show. And he spun it off into many different things now, but it started off with just that one thing.
So you kind of learned for your lessons that you can't have that one thing. So what's your one thing now?
So my one thing right now is helping athletes with their injuries and helping them to find ways to return to health quicker and more in a more efficient manner. That's what hurt my career the most, and that's what I've always just been really passionate about. I grew up with my mom in healthcare, and I've always been really interested in treatment. And I thought about being a chiropractor at one point, so that's what I've been pouring a lot of my time into. I started a company called Kho, and we connect injured athletes with the healthcare providers. And it's been a very windy road in terms of trying to find exactly what that product needs to look like. At first, we thought it was an injury question board where you can ask any injury question and a healthcare provider would help you. Athletes loved asking questions, but we realized healthcare providers did not love answering them. And we figured out why that was. So now we're working on changing the product around and making it more about helping athletes to find the right healthcare providers local to them. And if they don't want to see a healthcare provider, getting them in touch with the right information so that they can return to health if they want to do it on their own, or just helping with little tips and things that they can do at home or at practice and whatnot to make sure that they're staying healthy.
Clutch. So when we look at that, and almost like the NFL, the track dream, how do you see the journey?
Yeah, that's where it's tough. Is like the road could be so much windier than what you think it's going to be. And like for me, the biggest thing I've realized is that the journey right now for me is just about lasting long enough. Like I know that I know for a fact that like just looking at what people search on Google and looking at the amount of athletic injuries that happen just in the United States alone, people need help with injuries. There's no doubt about this. But in order to be that help, the problem with helping people with injuries is that it's not a very sexy thing. It's just like it's way more fun to watch highlights of people dunking than it is to learn about how to stop yourself from pulling your hamstring, right? So because of that, the challenge is in being that resource that people think of at the time when that injury does happen. And that just takes time in order to do that. Like you just have to be around for a long time. And so that's what I'm focused on right now, just sticking around and making incremental improvements. But then also listening to the customers, listening to what they're telling you. I think that's also something that's tough, is because you might have a vision. And like I said, like with Coach, started off as an injury question board, but when I started talking to healthcare providers, I realized like, no, this isn't going to work for them. Like, and there's multiple reasons why, whether it's health laws or just like the fact that they don't have a lot of time. So once you start talking to your customers, you realize, hey, if I have to, show a little humility and realize that these people know better than me, and I got to change it to what they want. So that's what I'm really just basing it on, listening to what the customers want, and then just making sure that we survive long enough to make that impact.
Definitely. So anyone right now wants to check out Kho, what's the best way to do it?
I would say the two best ways. Just go to khohealth.com. You can click on athlete and you'll see the blog at the top of the page has tons of just different articles. You put out about 4 articles a day right now, and so that's one thing you can do. You can go to the App Store and just type in Kho, and Kho is spelled KHO, and you'll see it come up there. And then another way, if you want to follow us on Instagram, our Instagram and Twitter handles are at Kho Health, so you can follow us there if you want to.
So if someone like right now, like a therapist listening to this, why they want to be a part of what you're doing, what you're building?
So the biggest thing is our platform is unique in the sense that it's the only platform that allows you to search for sports medicine providers based off of their type and skill set. And when I say that, this is what I mean. If you are a chiropractor, that's one thing. Right? You can go to Google, you can search for chiropractor, it's cool. But if you want a chiropractor that also knows fascial stretching, or knows Graston, or knows active release, or knows acupuncture, or has a sports background, meaning they used to be an athlete, you can search for all those different skill sets and find the person local to you. So by being on our platform, you just make yourself easier to be found for the things that you spent time learning. Like you took the time to learn active release, or grasslands. So you may as well be rewarded for that and make it easier for yourself to be found. The other thing is, instead of just going on Instagram and posting your stuff on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, where people are going on there, but a lot of people aren't going on there just looking for injury information. Like, they're looking for what their friends are doing and they're just scrolling and burning time. But on our platform, our feed is all information that is people looking for athletic injury help. Like, they're looking to get help. They're looking to get healthy. They're looking for resources. They're looking for people that they can start building relationships with. That's what the platform is solely about. It's not about what Miley Cyrus is doing or who Beyonce's, making a new track with or whatever. It's just solely focused on athletic injuries. So you should be a part of it just because, you want to be known for helping athletes with injuries. Like, it's going to be the platform of the future where people are going to do that.
Fire. So if you describe yourself in 5 words, what would they be? 5
words. So does it have to be like a 5-word like sentence, or just like any 5 words?
Just 5 words. Like describe your journey and what your whole process. Like, what would you describe yourself in like 5 like adjectives or whatever?
Endurance, grind, family, and my why. So I'm using my why as my last 2 words because I think like I point out those ones because anyone who knows me knows like I'm a grind. Like I'm not scared to put in the work and do whatever it takes. But like a new one for me, it's just family. Like, obviously I always had a family, but it's like now that I have I have one daughter now. I have another one coming any day now. So, I got these little girls looking up to me. So the one thing that's big for me is always remembering them as my why, because when they get older, I want them to look at me, and whether I succeed or fail doesn't matter, but I want them to know that I had the courage to go after what I really wanted in life. And I didn't just settle and say, I'll just take whatever I can get and just play it safe and stick within the box and, stay within the lines and all that. I want to give them the courage to also do the same thing, chase after whatever they want, use their talents to the fullest. So those are my big ones, man.
I like it. It kind of relates to this whole episode right here. How the endurance, surviving through injuries, bouncing back through the ups and downs, grinding, realizing that your dream wasn't going to be what you thought it was at first, but kind of grinding to know that I want to go to the Olympics. I want to go to college. So we got to grind through that. So yeah, so how like I did this for the first time with Akeem, and it made me realize, like if you think about it, sometimes these 5 words end up becoming our whole little journey into how we kind of talk about our lives. So cool.
No. One quick thing I just want to add in there. I was watching the first episode of the new Last Chance U that just came out, and it's funny because one of the teachers asked this one kid who clearly doesn't have a lot of like self-worth, she asked him like, describe yourself. Like, how would you like tell me 5 good things about yourself? He had nothing. Like, and like, I was just like, it was amazing to see that, like, some people don't even have any good things to say about themselves. So it's like, if you don't have anything good to say about yourself, how can you produce anything good? You have to believe in yourself first and believe that you have some good in yourself before you can, put that good in other people,
Thanks for listening to this episode of the 9 Point Started With a Dream podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment, share, leave a review. We would love to hear your thoughts. You can find more athlete-driven content at 9point.com. Till the next episode, you're only one opportunity away. Peace.